What's up, guys? I'm sure in the past few months you've seen some of these weird Star Wars AI generated images, and some of them are pretty cool. They come up with some awesome ideas, but also they are a little weird. So I started thinking about AI and how it could apply to Star Wars. Instead of making cool pictures like this one, I thought about maybe how we can settle some differences between the Star Wars fandom and use AI to come up with actual rankings for the best and worst things in Star Wars, because Star Wars fans are constantly fighting. I mean, look at this kid. He literally got killed because he said he liked The Last Jedi. So in what will be a new series on my YouTube channel, I went to ChatGPT to ask it some of the hardest hitting questions in the Star Wars fandom, because we can argue with each other all we want, but there's really no arguing with robots and AI. So the very first question I had to ask was to rank the Star Wars movies from worst to best, and we'll see what happens. Obviously, we got to be nice to our AI so that it doesn't kill us, and we'll get right into ChatGPT's ranking of the Star Wars movies. I'd love to hear what you guys think and how it compares to your rankings, and we'll find out if ChatGPT is the way or is not the way. So starting off at number 11, ChatGPT says Attack of the Clones is the worst Star Wars movie of all time. I have to agree with our robot friend, because while I love Attack of the Clones for a lot of reasons, it is an absolute pain to watch the first hour to hour and a half of this movie. It's really boring and kind of cringe in a lot of ways. The production overall is not great in a lot of points, so ChatGPT, I think, nailed it on the head with Attack of the Clones at number 11. At number 10, we've got The Phantom Menace. I think this is where me and ChatGPT start beefing a little bit, because I love this movie. I would have it ranked a little bit higher towards the middle of the list, but I do understand why it's at number 10. It has some of the same issues that Attack of the Clones has, and overall, the fans' reception to this movie was not great. I think it has a lot of amazing aspects to it, Qui-Gon and Darth Maul, and I really love this movie, and like I said, I'd have it a little bit higher, but it is what it is. At number 9, ChatGPT hit it right on the head. I think Rise of Skywalker is definitely one of the weaker films overall, as it ties into the entire trilogy. I do think this is a fun watch. It's really, like, from start to finish, action-packed adventure movie, but I know there's a lot of things that fans don't like about it, and I mean, while they didn't put Rose in it as much, it does have its weaknesses. And I mean, come on though, Kylo coming out of the freaking waterworks right here, I absolutely love that, and there are so many aspects of this movie that are really cool. I just don't think it holds up in terms of the overall saga. At number 8, we have The Last Jedi. I think this is a really interesting ranking, because some fans would say that this is an absolute atrocity and abomination to Star Wars, while other fans really, really love this movie, and it is one of my favorite Star Wars movies. I personally have it ranked at number 5. But I do see with the overall reaction for the fans why it could be lower in terms of an overall ranking. It is interesting though, with such a bad reaction from some of the fans, you would think that this would be at the bottom of the list, and ChatGPT obviously knows what it's talking about, ranked it a little bit higher. I think The Last Jedi is an amazing movie, and if you haven't seen it since it came out in 2017, give it another watch and maybe you'll find some things that you like about it. Now, this is where things start to get a little bit interesting. At number 7, we have Return of the Jedi, and a lot of fans are going to not like this ranking and feel like it's super low. I feel like it is a little bit low myself. I do think Return of the Jedi has some kooky, wacky parts in it that maybe contribute to its overall less critical achievement, but it is such an epic ending to the original trilogy and has so many special moments for the fans. I do think some of the story points are just kind of like thrown in and tied together, similarly to The Rise of Skywalker. A lot of fans don't want to admit that, but I think ChatGPT knows what it's talking about and ranked it a little bit lower than I would have had it. Prequel babies, close your eyes. At number 6, we have Revenge of the Sith, and I know this is going to make some of you guys mad. Revenge of the Sith, a lot of the times people say it's the best Star Wars movie, and I have absolutely never agreed with that. It is one of my favorites. I would put it in my top 3, but it has a lot of the same issues that the other 2 prequel movies do in terms of the dialogue and the way that it was produced. It has obviously one of the best overall stories and is action-packed from beginning to end. I think it deserves to be a little bit higher in terms of ChatGPT's ranking, but I can understand why it did put it so low. And speaking of Solo, at number 5, we have Solo, A Star Wars Story. I think this is a pretty solid ranking. I mean, when I rank the movies, I tend to have it more around like 8 or 9, but that's simply because the other movies hold such a special place in my heart. I think Solo is an absolute awesome movie. It is so fun, action-packed. We get to learn so much about Han and Chewie and Lando, and it really incorporates all the Star Wars feels that I think George would have wanted in a movie, and I just think it's really cool, and there's a lot of interesting aspects. Unfortunately, it kind of flopped at the box office, but box office doesn't always determine the quality of a movie, and even just from these clips right here, I think it's one of the coolest, most unique Star Wars movies that we have. At number 4, we have The Force Awakens. I think this is a pretty solid ranking overall. I mean, bias aside, I would have it a little bit lower, but this is the most successful Star Wars movie of all time, one of the most successful movies in general of all time, generating over $2 billion in the box office. It really set the tone for Star Wars coming back and ignited a lot of people's love in Star Wars once again. A lot of fans have problems with the sequels overall, but this one is definitely the most consistent. Oh no, we've got an incoming transmission from ChatGPT. I thought I was being pretty nice, but it says it's reading your thoughts and it doesn't like the way you're thinking about its ranking, so just chill out for me, please, and we can get through these top 3. At number 3, we have Rogue One, A Star Wars Story. I think this is a pretty solid ranking. Fans absolutely love this movie, and for it to be sort of an anthology movie and it making almost $1.5 billion, I mean, that's just incredible. It hits on all the Star Wars feels that I feel like George would really love to put in his movies. It gives us little cameos, and Darth Vader in it is absolutely incredible. I love the action and I love the story. It obviously ends on such a sad note with all the main characters dying, which is something that we don't really see in Disney nowadays. I really think they were bold with this movie and it's one of a kind, so number 3 is a super solid ranking for it. At number 2, we've got an absolutely classic, the one that started it all, Star Wars: A New Hope. This is definitely one of my favorites. I usually put it at number 2 in my ranking. I think that's spot on. ChatGPT knows what's up, even though a lot of fans nowadays say that like the originals are kind of boring, and especially A New Hope, it starts off really slow and it's kind of a slow burn compared to the other ones. I mean, this started it all and it gives us so many of the aspects that spanned into all the content that we have now in Star Wars, so I think number 2 for A New Hope is an absolutely perfect ranking. And at number 1, the absolute GOAT Star Wars movie, The Empire Strikes Back. I 100% agree with ChatGPT here. It's by far my favorite Star Wars movie, and it has always been my favorite Star Wars movie. I just love how it follows up the original Star Wars and gives us such a deep story with the characters. Obviously, it has one of the craziest reveals of all time in the fact that Darth Vader is Luke Skywalker's father. We see our heroes lose pretty much in the end, which is very unique to, family adventure movies. So I think this was just a really cool, unique Star Wars movie. And ChatGPT nailed it right on the head in ranking it number 1. So I definitely agree. So that is it for ChatGPT's ranking of the Star Wars movies. Here it is in full recap. Do you guys agree, or is ChatGPT completely off? I personally think it was pretty accurate, especially from like a non-biased standpoint. Obviously, this is not my exact ranking. I have a pretty good understanding of how the fandom feels about the Star Wars movies, and I've heard so many opinions and comments, so I feel like it is pretty accurate in like a general consensus of all the movies. I think the most surprising thing to me was Solo at number 5. That seemed pretty high, especially when you're taking in the data of the box office numbers and the overall rating of the movie. Seemed kind of high for that one, but honestly, in terms of the quality, it could be top 5, so what do you guys think? Is ChatGPT crazy? Am I crazy? Do you like this series? Let me know. I will continue to do it. I have a few more videos planned, so definitely stay tuned for those. I would appreciate it if you like this video and subscribe to the channel. Thanks for watching, and may the Force be with you.